If you're a working professional in Nigeria with a history of paying off your loans, you deserve to have a healthy credit history that should allow you to get a house or get a car or make a major purchase. Unfortunately, Nigeria's credit consumer lending market is a bit fragmented. So Steers says that now TAM is the total addressable market. That TAM, they're saying possibly 2.7 billion. But however, we have so many Nigerians that are getting loans from informal sources. Athena had, as part of their last survey, saying that Nigerians' access to informal credit is about 32% of adults, about 39 million people using informal sources to get access to credit. So we do need to get those formalized. Let's look at some of the lending challenges there. Low credit penetration. It is among the lowest in the world. That's the issue with Nigeria here. And one of those key issues is the absence of data. Let's take a look at what Steers said in their report. It said the scarcity of rigorous, up-to-date estimates of credit market size creates problems for commercial banks, digital lenders, microfinance institutions, and future investors by effectively making them market blind and unable to estimate Nigeria's actual consumer credit market size. I mean, the size is one thing. People getting access to credit, that's the crux here. So these data hurdles make it difficult for investors to make a rational investment decision or set reasonable expectations for market returns. They provide investors and lending operators with rigorous estimates of Nigeria's consumer lending market potential based on existing informal loan market. Let's talk to Tunde Balogun, founder, CEO at SmallSmall. Tunde, you're very welcome. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
Why are things the way they are? This issue with consumer lending, people getting access to credits, the data issues in the market. What's your assessment of why this is, the way it is?
Again, Nigeria, we are a population of over 200 million. You see that credit penetration is very low, and you wonder why. Credit is one of the lifeline of any developing nation, and even developed nation. The nation cannot rise without credit, access to credit. And we have been talking about the development of Nigerian economy, the empowerment of Nigerians to move from low class to middle class and all of that. That would not happen without access to credit. And based on some of the reports you mentioned, right? Lack of data, it's not, data is available, but everybody have their data in silos, and I think one of the challenge to that consolidation of data is distrust. I have my data, other tech companies also have their data. You have the big corporation banks also have their data, and everyone believe that if they were to bring their data together one way or the other, then this other corporation can use my data to access my customer. Yeah. So you see that there's distrust. So one of the only way we can solve that distrust problem, where we have a centralized system for data around purchasing power, purchasing history, and access that can then empower or power access to credit, has to be government-led. In my own opinion, there are some tech companies that are already doing something in that area, and they've been some in that space for some years now that have been trying to play their part and all of that without having to mention names, right? Yeah. But if we are really going to go all out, if we are really going to solve this problem to access to credit or lower the barrier to credit, right, we have to remove one of the biggest challenge, which is data. Bank, they are very comfortable giving, maybe not completely comfortable giving money to the upper class, because
Chika just said that in the last segment, the Dangotes and MTNs of this world,
because they have their collaterals that those can use to kind of access these funds, right? Yeah. But when you come to the middle class or the lower class, they can hardly access this credit because, first of all, they don't have the size of the collateral that the banks will be comfortable to use to give them this credit. And when we talk about credit, there's direct and indirect credit. Okay. We believe that the credits that the middle class and lower class should even have, outside of maybe you need cash credits to power your business or to SMEs and all of that. Yeah. If it is the general consumer credit, right, I think it should be indirect for now. Yeah. And the way we define indirect credit is whereby a credit that can allow you access the things you need, whereby it's not necessarily cash-based. Yeah. Because the challenge with cash is that once you get cash, you can say, I want to use the cash to go to do point A to point B. But before you get to point B, other things came up and you've used that cash to attend to other things. And
now you owe that cash.
You owe that cash, and then what you needed that cash for, you can't even meet that thing. And maybe it's something to help your productivity. Maybe it's a new laptop that you needed, right? And you've taken loan to buy that new laptop. Maybe it's a new car you need, and you've taken loan to get that car, right? But your child in school say they needed to do excursion or something random. Oh, they call you from village, papa, mama, know, just so many things that can come, that can take. So we believe that indirect credit is the way whereby people, I need a car. Where can I go to get a car directly where you are not giving me the cash, and I know that you can carry out verification, due diligence on me, and I can start paying instrumentally for that car. Oh, I need a laptop. I need educate training, indirect credit. And that's what we do.
Now, see, let's get to what you do, because you just talked about moving in silos and how everybody needs to come together. But you guys have an app where you set up your own silo and your own credit. You're doing the very thing you said we shouldn't be doing. So talk about it. So you have a fair app, right?
Yes.
You are essentially, you set up a platform. Let me let you describe it. So go ahead.
We've been in business for 7 years now. We started, our company name is SmallSmall. We have Rent SmallSmall, which has been pay rent monthly. And we were one of the pioneers of that solution. And we're still going strong and the leader in that space right now. And then we saw that our tenants, people staying in our properties, right? After moving in, they still needed to get other things, right? To live better, to have a better life, and to also boost their productivity. Some of them work from home, right? And there are other things they need. They need solar solution. They need, certain type of gadgets, right? So we thought of, and then we were getting a lot of requests, people saying that, I want to buy this. I thought you guys provide that because of the name of the company, SmallSmall, right? And I said, you know what? We've reached that point where we need to go all out. So we started engaging vendors and saying, we actually created an event called SmallSmall Fair and brought vendors that provide instrumental payments, brought them to this event last year, and out of that event was when we launched this fair app, where all these vendors have a base where they have market reach. Because on one side there is the demand where people want to pay instrumentally for the things they need, but they don't know where to go. And then on the supply side, you have vendors, businesses that want to provide instrumental payment, but they don't have the safety net, where they can provide that. They feel like, if I just do it on my own, people might not pay me back. There's the risk factor and all of that. So we've built this app in order to bring everybody together, provide the safety needed, the security needed, and just make sure that people can, both the vendors can sell and collect instrumental payments, and we will provide the guarantee for that. And the buyers can also come and buy what they need, going from training, going from goods and services, going from gadgets, home and appliances, furniture, and all of that.
But it's in a silo.
Yes,
we want what you're doing to be spread across the entire country. So are you? So
let me tell you how one of the ways that is possible, right?
To scale it.
To scale it, right? Our goal is, obviously, right now, we just launched the app about 5 months ago. We have about 10,000 downloads, about 2,500 active users already. Our goal before the end of the year is to reach 1 million users. But when you compare it with the population of the country, that is still very small. So what we can do, what I believe can scale this, is partnership with one of the institutions that the government has launched, which is Credit Corp.
That's on the federal government level, right?
Federal government level, right? Because I think it's also in the interest, the federal government has interest to promote credit, to create, to lower the barrier to access to credit.
They're doing it with education.
They're doing it with education. The Credit Corp too. Also, that they just launched something, I think this past 2 weeks, that the first tranche of people to access car loans, right? And they did it in partnership with some car companies, right? Both indigenous and foreign car companies, right? With Credit Corp, a partnership with a platform like ours that is beyond car, but brings it down to day-to-day needs, bring it down to things that people need to live better. I think that can enable the scale, and maybe not just only us, but other platforms that provide the type of solution.
What about the fear of, when you bring the banks into this conversation, there's the fear of default. My producer was telling a story before as we were putting the show together about how he was getting phone calls, text messages messages about somebody he knows that defaulted on a loan and he was getting, the default issue is there, and then you've got these practices where they embarrass people, put their pictures up on WhatsApp and so on and so forth. The fear of default is real, even on your platform.
Absolutely.
You're saying you're guaranteeing someone. So if somebody defaults and you pick up the tab for that?
So, and that's actually, that tells you the extent of our, so again, we didn't just launch Fair App overnight, right? We started as Rent SmallSmall, and there are lessons we've learned over the years.
Using the history of the people
that we have within the ecosystem, our tenants, right?
So you see somebody, this is great, but somebody from outside cannot now come to you.
Oh, they can. Where
are you going to get their history from?
So let me tell you. So again, risk is still very high, but it won't stop us from doing what we need to do. The due diligence that needs to happen is, what is your income ratio, right?
Yeah.
Well, how much are you earning?
Yeah.
Can you afford this thing that you are looking to buy? That's one. Two, do you have any debt anywhere? So
how do you verify where that debt is?
Oh, there are solutions available already. There are tech companies, about 2 or 3 that, if I don't want to mention their names, that you see, if you integrate, and it's just API.
So Tunde, that's the thing. Those tech companies that have this data on the debt history of the person who is coming to meet you to buy the laptop or the phone, the CRC Credit Bureau is on its own side.
Yes.
That's the credit bureaus that exist. Yeah. So again, it's fragmented. That's the problem.
And I agree with you. Yeah. And I want to see a centralized solution, because in the countries where credit has truly scaled,
like America,
like America, I was going to
right.
It's because of that centralized solution. Let me tell you a very interesting one.
Yeah.
So in the US, for example, right, they take credit history across different touch points where you use, and rental never used to be one of those pool, right? Yeah. And there's a company, interestingly co-founded by a Nigerian, Isusu is what it's called, right? Yeah. Isusu now has allowed the rental history, credit history of Americans to be pulled into the central credit history or database of the nation, whereby they are now using even your rental history.
As part of your history.
Landlords will tell you that, what's your credit score? But that credit score is not made up of even your rental history, but now is made up of, so Isusu has partnered with a lot of property management, property solution to pull data of how people pay rent, and now it's even a richer history about in terms of people credit, and we need to have that centralized solution also, but it's not going to be done by an individual because of the sensitivity of data.
Right.
It's not going to be done by an individual also because of distrust. It's still going to be, do we trust government? There's also the distrust with government of what government, their interests, but they are still, I think, with this, the level of where we have with the federal government and or other parastatal of government, there's some confidence that is brewing already in terms of where this country is going. Of course, cost of living has gone up, purchasing power has gone down, but we believe that things are eventually going to go in the right direction. I don't know how soon that is going to happen. I don't know when that is going to happen, but Credit Corp is one. The other one you mentioned, which is education, the credit for education, that is 2, but there still need to be that centralized solution. And I think Credit Corp can actually take that role, because that is, their name, going by their name, they are not supposed to serve just one company. They're supposed to serve the entire Nigerian society.
Well, we're out of time. I think this thing should be disaggregated by the states as well, because this is a federal government thing, right? So you got to have this thing broken. It's a big topic. Look, credit to you guys. Credit, no pun intended. Well done for doing this. We just really need to see this across the board. But great stuff. Tunde Balogun, CEO of SmallSmall. So I have to bring you back, talk about mortgages and homes. That's another thing. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.